I was literally taping up the last box. In the living room of the house, my fiancé, Liam, and I had just bought. I'm 29. I'm an architect. And this house, this was everything we'd worked for. My phone buzzed. And I saw Brenda light up the screen. My mom. I picked up, totally beaming. Mom, you won't believe how good the light looks in the kitchen. We were just setting the date for the housewarming party. It's in 2 weeks. The line was silent for just a beat. Then, her voice came back. Ice cold. Rishima. Cancel the housewarming party. I actually laughed, thinking it had to be a joke. What, Mom? Are you serious? I'm perfectly serious, she said, her voice completely flat. Your sister, Chloe. I just got a part in a local television commercial. We're having a party to celebrate her. On that same day. Have you ever felt like the second choice in your own family? Let me know your story in the comments below. I tried to argue. I said, Mom, come on. We've been planning this for months. We've already started buying things. I'm not canceling just because Chloe got a commercial. She sighed. That heavy, annoyed sigh she always uses when I'm being difficult. Don't be so selfish. Rishima, this is a big deal for your sister. It's the same guests. Just a different party. Just reschedule your little house thing. I felt that old, familiar anger rising in my chest. The kind that feels cold and heavy. No way. Mom, I said, my voice firm. This is our house. We're talking about our home. I am not canceling. End of story. She started to yell, her voice getting high and shrill. But I didn't even bother to listen. I just hung up the phone. I sat there on a cardboard box, just staring at the phone in my hand. That's when Liam walked in. He's 30. A financial analyst. And the most stable thing in my life. He took one look at my face and knew. He didn't even have to ask. Brenda, he said. I just nodded. And as I told him what she demanded, all the memories I usually keep locked away came rushing back. It was always like this. Chloe first. Me second. I remembered my college graduation. I was the first person in our immediate family to graduate from a 4-year university. My parents, Mark and Brenda, showed up 2 hours late. They missed me walking across the stage. They stayed for exactly 20 minutes. Took a couple of photos. And then said they had to leave to beat the traffic. It was pathetic. Especially when I compared it to what they did for Chloe. My sister, who is 4 years younger. Just a few months earlier. When Chloe got a basic PR internship, my parents funded a 3-day celebration trip to Vegas for her and 2 of her friends. A 3-day party for an internship. 20 minutes for my degree. Liam listened to the whole thing. And I could see his jaw tightening with every word. When I finished, he just shook his head. That's ridiculous, he said, pulling me into a hug. We are not canceling anything. This is our house. Our party. I leaned against him. So grateful for his support. I know. But why can't they ever put me first? Just once. Because they're clueless, Liam said firmly. But I put you first. Always. He tapped my nose. Now, let's go send out those invites. The next morning, I woke up determined to forget my mom's crazy demand. Liam and I had this beautiful new house. And I was going to focus on filling it with our friends. I sat down at our new kitchen island. Opened my laptop. And started working on the email invitations. Then my phone buzzed. It was my cousin, Megan. Hey, Rishima, she said. And her voice sounded really weird. Hesitant. Is everything okay? With you and Liam? And the new house? I was totally confused. Yeah. Everything's great. Why? What's up? There was a long pause. Oh. This is awkward. Aunt Brenda called my mom last night. Rishima. Is it true? You guys bought a lemon? That you have to cancel the party? Because the inspector found serious foundation issues, and the house isn't even safe to live in. My stomach dropped like a stone. I felt the blood drain from my face. This wasn't just a simple lie, like they broke up. This was a targeted attack. I'm an architect. My entire career is built on understanding structures and foundations. This lie wasn't just trying to steal my party, it was trying to paint me as an incompetent failure. It was almost too cruel to believe. Megan. That is a complete lie, I said, my voice shaking. The house is perfect. Mom is just... She's angry. I wouldn't cancel the party for Chloe. Oh my God. Megan whispered. I'm so sorry. I had no idea. After I hung up, I just sat there in silence. Liam found me a few minutes later, holding 2 cups of coffee. He saw my face and put the mugs down. What did she do now? I told him. I told him about the serious foundation issues and the house being unsafe. I watched his face go from concern to pure, cold anger. Why, I finally asked, the word cracking in my throat. I just don't understand why she would be so malicious. It's not just favoring Chloe anymore. This is sabotage. Liam sat down, taking my hands. I know it's hard to understand, he said quietly. But you're trying to find logic in something that isn't logical. It's not about you. Not really. It's about her. And it was then I finally understood something I'd read about a long time ago, the golden child and scapegoat dynamic. For a narcissistic parent like my mother, Brenda, her children aren't people. They're reflections. My sister, Chloe, was her golden child. She was the mirror. Chloe's minor successes, getting an internship, landing a tiny part in a local commercial, were things my mom could claim as her own success. They proved to the world that she was a perfect mother. But if there's a golden child, there has to be a scapegoat. That was me. I was the container for every single thing Brenda couldn't stand about her own life. My independence, my career, my stable relationship with Liam. None of that reflected back on her. So it was a threat. My success was my success, not hers. And she couldn't stand it. By buying this house, I wasn't just building a life, I was proving I didn't need her. And by refusing to cancel my party, I was telling her that her golden child's needs didn't come before mine. That was an offense she couldn't forgive. So she had to tear my achievement down. Paint my beautiful, solid house as a crumbling failure. Because in her world, only one of us was allowed to win. We have to fix this, I said, my voice suddenly hard. The hurt was turning into something else. Determination. She's not getting away with this. We spent the rest of the night doing damage control, calling every relative, sending out a mass email with photos of the inspection report, and posting on social media that the party was absolutely 100% still on. It was humiliating, but it had to be done. The day of the party arrived, and I was a complete mess. I was so nervous, I felt sick. Liam kept telling me it would be fine, that our real friends would show up. But I couldn't shake the image of us standing alone in our beautiful new living room, surrounded by food no one would eat. My mother's lie about the foundation issues felt so specific, so cutting. I was sure it had worked. Liam squeezed my hand. Ready? He asked. I took a deep breath, braced myself for the humiliation, and pulled open the front door. I couldn't believe my eyes. The house was packed. It wasn't just a few friends, it was buzzing. Smiling faces turned to greet us. And this warm, fuzzy feeling washed over me. People were everywhere. In the kitchen, spilling out onto the back patio, holding drinks, laughing. My Uncle Robert, my dad's brother, came up and gave Liam a hearty slap on the back. Of course we came, he boomed. Did you really think we'd miss this? I've got to say. Rashima, that rumor about your house having a bad foundation was the craziest thing I've ever heard. As soon as I heard it, I told your aunt. Brenda's at it again. That woman. Anyway, the house is beautiful. The foundation looks pretty damn solid to me. I laughed. A real laugh. Feeling lighter than I had in weeks. I guess it is, I said. The party was in full swing when my grandmother, Esther, who was 81 and sharp as a tack, motioned for me to come into the quiet study. She closed the door and took both my hands. Her hands were wrinkled, but her grip was strong. I know what Brenda did, she said, her voice quiet. She's always been jealous of you. You know, even when you were little. I know. Grandma. No. You don't know everything, she said, her eyes twinkling. I'm going to tell you a little secret. Something I never even told your mother. She paused, looking proud. Years ago, when you first graduated and wanted to rent that tiny studio apartment to start your career, you were short on your credit history. The landlord wouldn't approve you. I stared at her, confused. But I got the apartment. Yes, you did, she said, squeezing my hands. Because I secretly co-signed the loan for you. I never told you because I wanted you to feel like you'd done it all yourself. And you did? You paid that entire lease off early. I knew then, just as I know now. You always land on your feet. You have a foundation made of steel. Rishima, don't you ever let my daughter make you doubt it? Tears welled up in my eyes. But this time they weren't from anger or humiliation. They were from gratitude. All these years, I thought I'd been fighting alone, but I'd had this secret protector. This guardian angel, who saw me for who I really was. The next day, Liam and I were relaxing on the couch amidst the post-party mess, just smiling. When my phone rang, my stomach flipped. It was Brenda, against my better judgment. I answered. Hello. You ungrateful. Nasty girl, her voice screeched through the phone. I had to hold it away from my ear. How dare you? Mom. What are you talking about? Don't you? Mom! Me, she screamed. You've humiliated your sister. Only 7 people showed up to her party. 7. And they were just those nosy old aunts who'd go to anything. Lauren is crushed. This was supposed to be her moment. And you ruined it with your selfishness. I felt my patience, which had been stretched thin for decades, finally snap. Mom. I've been planning my housewarming for months. Chloe's party was a last-minute thing. And she knew it clashed. I'm sorry you're disappointed. But that's not my fault. Not your fault, she shrieked. Family comes first. Rishima. But clearly, you don't understand that. And before I could say anything else, she hung up on me. I was still staring at the blank screen where my mother's call had been when my phone buzzed again. This time, it was a text. From Chloe. My hand was shaking a little as I opened it. The message was short and venomous. Are you happy now? You ruined everything for me. I'm going to make you pay for this humiliation. I showed the message to Liam. He frowned, his eyes going dark. She can't be serious. But I knew she was. This was the shift. The problem wasn't just my mother's narcissism anymore. This was Chloe, my 25-year-old sister, promising a targeted attack. The next few weeks were quiet. Eerily quiet. I started to let myself believe that maybe the storm had passed. That Chloe's text was just an empty threat. Then, one afternoon, I got an unexpected call from Liam's mother. My heart sank. I always loved talking to her. But her tone sounded worried. Rishima. Dear. She started. And I could hear the hesitation. Can I ask you something a bit strange? Of course, I said, my pulse quickening. Well, she said. Liam's father and I received a very bizarre phone call this morning. It was from a young woman who said her name was Chloe. Your sister? The blood drained from my face. Oh God. What did she say? Dear. Well, she told us that you were cheating on Liam, that she had proof, and that we needed to warn our son before he got trapped into marrying you. I felt like I'd been slapped. This was a new low. It was one thing to lie about a house, but to lie about me, to my future family. Before I could even process the shock, Liam's mom cut in, her voice firm. Rishima, listen to me. We've known you for 4 years. We didn't believe it for a second. We told that young woman exactly where she could go. And then we blocked her number. We are not calling to accuse you. We are calling to warn you. Your sister is... well, she's unhinged. And we're on your side. 100%. I hung up. A strange mix of emotions swirling inside me. I was so incredibly touched by their immediate trust and support. And I was absolutely furious at Chloe. How could she be so cruel? But she was just getting started. A week later, I was at my architecture firm, preparing for a huge presentation. We were pitching a new design to a major potential client. This was a project that could change my career. My boss, a man I deeply respected, called me into his office. He looked uncomfortable. "Rashima," he said, avoiding my eyes. "Sit down. I need to show you something." He turned his monitor toward me. My stomach clenched. He had a web page open. A review site for architecture firms. And there, posted under 3 different anonymous names, were 3 new 1-star reviews for our company. For my work, I read them, my hands going cold. This firm is unreliable. Their lead architect seems promising, but drops the ball. We had serious concerns about the structural integrity of her designs. Had to pull out. Avoid at all costs. Our project was delayed for months due to structural issues that were overlooked. A complete lack of professionalism. Structural issues. The same lie. The exact same words my mother had used about my house. But now professionally weaponized. Chloe, with her PR background, knew exactly what she was doing. She was using the language of my own industry to poison the well. To make me look incompetent. I looked up at my boss. Speechless. I don't know who. This is all lies. He sighed, rubbing his temples. I'm sure it is. Rashima. But the client. They do their due diligence. And then he delivered the final blow. The presentation is off. The client called this morning. They said they've indefinitely postponed the meeting. Citing reputational risk they found in online reviews. I just sat there, frozen. The floor had just dropped out from under me. This wasn't a family fight anymore. This wasn't about a party. Chloe had brought the war to my livelihood. She was trying to ruin the one thing I had built for myself. This wasn't just revenge. This was an attempt to destroy me. I didn't have to do anything. Chloe did it all herself. In her obsession to make me pay. She got sloppy. She became so consumed with her smear campaign that her actual work at the PR firm completely fell apart. She was spending all day on her work computer. Not for her clients, but for her bizarre vendetta against me. Using company resources and databases to find new places to post her anonymous structural issues reviews. Apparently, her boss had already warned her twice about her performance and her erratic, paranoid behavior. The final straw came when her boss, a sharp woman in her 50s, noticed Chloe was billing hours for a client she wasn't even assigned to. She did a quiet investigation and found everything. The logged-in accounts, the saved drafts of the fake reviews, the spreadsheets of contacts she was targeting, including my boss. Chloe was called into the office. She was fired on the spot. Not just for poor performance, but for gross ethical misconduct and using company resources to try and destroy another person's reputation. The very thing she was so celebrated for, her big break in PR, was the exact tool she used to self-destruct. The irony was almost poetic. After that, there was silence. Blessed, wonderful silence. Months flew by. The noise from my old family faded. My firm recovered the client after I presented my boss with all the evidence, and my reputation was restored. Life with Liam in our new house was peaceful. We threw ourselves into planning our wedding. Not with stress, but with actual joy. One evening, we were sitting at our dining room table. The one we'd bought after the housewarming party. Stacks of beautiful, cream-colored envelopes were piled up, ready to be mailed. I was addressing the last few, my hand cramping. But I was smiling. And then I got to the bottom of my list. There were 3 envelopes left. 3 blank spaces on my list. Brenda, Mark, Chloe. I just stared at them. My pen hovered over the first envelope. I could feel all the old programmel guilt rising up. But she's your mother. But he's your father. But she's your sister. I thought about all the years I had tried to be good enough. To be seen. To earn the love they gave Chloe so freely. Liam found me there, just staring at the paper. He didn't say anything. He just put a comforting hand on my shoulder. I looked up at him, and my eyes were clear. There were no tears. "I don't think I can," I whispered. He just nodded. Understanding, completely. "It's your call. Rashima. Whatever you decide. I'm with you." I took a deep breath. I picked up the 3 blank invitations. I stood up from the table, walked over to the paper shredder in our new home office, and fed them in. One by one. The machine whirred. And that sound. That sound was the sound of a lock finally clicking open. It was the sound of a chain breaking. I felt a pang. Not of sadness, but of finality. We're taught that blood is thicker than water. It's a phrase that's used to demand loyalty, to excuse toxic behavior, to make you feel guilty for choosing your own peace. We're made to feel like monsters for walking away from the very people who have hurt us the most. But I realized, standing there, that we've got it all wrong. The original saying was, "The blood of the covenant is thicker than the water of the womb." It meant that the bonds you choose, the family you build, the people who show up for you, are stronger than the family you were just born into by chance. Letting go of my bloodline wasn't a failure. It wasn't an act of cruelty. It was a final, necessary act of self-preservation. It was the moment I stopped begging for a seat at a table where I was never wanted, and finally turned to set my own. It was a painful, bittersweet, and absolutely necessary liberation. This day wasn't about them. It was about us. And they didn't deserve to be there. The weeks flew by. And before I knew it, our wedding day had arrived. It wasn't a big, lavish affair. We held it right in the backyard of our new house. The one with the foundation that was, as it turned out, perfectly solid, standing there in the garden. Under a simple archway, Liam and I had built together. I looked out at the faces of the people who had come to celebrate with us. My grandma, Esther, was dabbing at her eyes with a handkerchief. My Uncle Robert was beaming, giving Liam a thumbs up. My cousin Megan was smiling. And right beside her, Liam's parents were looking at me with so much pride. Like I was already their own. There was no drama. No screaming. No last-minute demands. No one was there trying to steal the spotlight. It was just warm. As I reached Liam and he took my hands in his prode, I felt a deep, profound sense of peace settle over me. This was where I belonged. Later, at the reception, as Liam and I swayed to our first dance on the patio, I rested my head on his shoulder. I realized then that our housewarming party all those months ago, it wasn't just about celebrating a new house. It was the first day of my new life. It was the day I stopped fighting for a place in a family that didn't want me, and instead laid the first brick for the family I was building for myself. This was my fresh start. And with Liam by my side, I wasn't scared of the future. For the first time, I was just happy.